Welcome to final part of World War One. The point of winning when the price is so high, victory had become hollow. There was no celebration in the streets, only the quiet mourning of those who had returned, and the wailing of those who had lost loved ones. Even the leaders who signed the armistice, thinking they had secured peace, couldn't escape the fact that the world had changed forever. Emperor Wilhelm II of Germany, once the proud ruler of an empire, had been forced to abdicate. Austria-Hungary, a once mighty empire, was split into pieces. Nations that had once been the giants of Europe were now broken. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Russian Empire, and the Ottoman Empire all had crumbled under the weight of war. The leaders gathered in Versailles, France, to sign the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. It was supposed to be a treaty of peace, but instead it set the stage for future turmoil. The treaty placed the blame for the war squarely on Germany's shoulders, forcing the country to pay heavy reparations and disarm its military. Germany was humiliated, and its people felt betrayed by their own government. This treaty sowed the seeds of resentment and anger that would eventually give rise to World War II. And what about the soldiers who made it back? The men who returned from the front lines, who had witnessed horrors. Beyond imagination, they came home, but they were never truly the same. The physical scars were easy to see, limbs lost, wounds that would never heal, but the mental scars were hidden deep inside them. The war had broken something in them that could never be fixed. Imagine being one of these men walking back into a world that feels completely foreign, a world where people talk of peace, but you've seen the worst of humanity. You've stared death in the face, heard the screams of your friends, and smelled the fumes of burning cities. How could you return to normal life after that post-traumatic stress disorder? PTSD wasn't recognized back then, but many of these men carried it with them for the rest of their lives. Nightmares, flashbacks, and overwhelming feelings of guilt they had survived. But at what cost? They had sacrificed their innocence, their humanity, and their futures. Many of these men could never truly reintegrate into society. The world had moved on, but they had been left behind, lost in the shadow of war. But in the ashes of this destruction, there was also a sense of rebirth. New countries were formed from the rubble of the old empires. Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia were born nations, carved from the lands of the fallen Austro-Hungarian Empire. The Ottoman Empire collapsed, and its lands were divided among the Allies, changing the face of the Middle East forever. The Russian Empire also collapsed, leading to the Russian Revolution of 1917, where Vladimir Lenin and the Bolsheviks took control, setting the stage for the rise of the Soviet Union. The old powers were gone, but new powers were emerging, and the world was rapidly changing for many. This was a time of hope, a time when people believed they could build a better world, but the scars of the war would remain, and the lessons learned would never be forgotten, as the survivors picked up the pieces of their shattered lives. They also carried the memory of the war with them, hoping to never see anything like it again today. When we think about World War I, we don't just think about the battles, the weapons, and the politics. We think about the lives lost, the dreams shattered, and the families destroyed. We think about the soldiers who went to war, not knowing they would never return. We think about the survivors who came home, only to find that their home was no longer the same. Every memorial, every grave, every poignant symbol, they remind us of what happened. The war may be over, but its legacy lives on. The soldiers who died are not just numbers. They are fathers, sons, brothers, friends. We must never forget them, and as we reflect on the war, we realize that the true lesson is not just about the horrors of war, but about the importance of peace. We must honor the memories of those who fought and died by ensuring that their sacrifices were not in vain. We must work to create a world where such a catastrophe never happens again. The fire of this war still burns in our hearts today. The lessons we learned about the consequences of unchecked nationalism, about the horrors of warfare, and about the power of resilience are lessons we must carry with us forever. The world has changed, but we must remember the pain and loss of World War I should never be forgotten. It is a part of our history, and it is a reminder that peace must never be taken for granted. And so the story of World War I ends, but its echoes will never fade. It is a story that will continue to teach us, to remind us, and to shape our future. Thanks for watching. Stay with us for more stories.